Today I fucked up. I wish I hadn't let a good friend slip away. Hi all, first post ever. Be nice. This didn't happen today, but it happened a couple years ago. I met someone that could have been someone really special in my life, but like an idiot I let him slip away. Let's call him Eddie. I had heard about Eddie long before I met him. His mom started going to my church and was very cool. Her teenage son, Eddie, gained a reputation, however, for being a little talkative. Eddie needed rides in the morning but didn't have a car, and his mom couldn't for whatever reason. My dad, being the wonderful guy he is, offered to drive him before going to work. However, because it would be a little weird for a grown man and a teenager to be alone in a car, my dad made me, his daughter, come along. It was early in the morning before the sun came up, and I was a cranky middle schooler who was a ball full of raging, uncontrollable emotions. I was not happy to share the same car as this annoying, loud kid when I could hardly keep my eyes open. I hated the early morning car rides and I hated Eddie. Guys, Eddie was noisy. I had a front row seat to hear his crazy. One morning, he told us about his plans to make a motorcycle from a bike and lawnmower engine he found. Another time he told us about how he was going to make a flamethrower out of some sort of contraption. I heard from his mom that he made an electric glove from a bug zapper he bought. This guy was unlike any other teenager I had ever met. He always had a story to tell, and, as my father pointed out, he was always chipper and happy, despite the fact it was early. I just rolled my eyes and despised Eddie. Well, I eventually got into high school and shared a couple of classes with Eddie. As usual, Eddie talked my ear off. Even during lectures, he'd whisper a joke or show me something he drew on his worksheet. By now I was a little more mature and was polite enough to listen to him or laugh quietly. For one thing, we both watched anime but liked reading manga better, a rare find. We both liked to draw silly stuff. We had similar tastes in humor, and we both agreed that Taco Bell was the best fast food restaurant. It was little things like this that made me appreciate Eddie. In gym we'd run together and talk the whole time. In science, we'd work together on projects. In math, we would doodle on our homework. He'd perk up whenever saw me and I did the same. He'd tell me about this funny video he found, look at this SpongeBob anime. Some weird story from work, my manager made me clean up human poop in the lobby, or a random thought from his chaotic, unknowable brain. If you could slap a past American president, who would it be? Eddie was funny and happy all the time. I only ever saw him upset a couple times, and if I was angry, he was a good person to vent to. I grew really fond of Eddie, but I didn't even realize it. Looking back now, I'm pretty sure our classmates thought we were dating because we were always talking or laughing about something. We were, by far, the loudest people in class. Eddie was sucking me into his noisy, giggling, preposterous aura, and I didn't care. I was just along for the ride. Not everyone felt the same way about Eddie, however. That kid's annoying, a friend from work said. He talks too much, a classmate complained. Can you be quiet for 1 minute, dude? Do you ever shut up? You're so annoying. I started to realize the very real possibility that Eddie had some form of ADHD. He really did talk all the time. His school assignments were always crumpled and he frequently forgot to do them. He often abandoned projects as soon as he had another idea. Eddie moved and talked too quickly for the world to catch up. One time in class together, I was working on homework and his worksheet was already shoved, undone without even his name on it, in his backpack. We chatted and the topic of marriage came up in the discussion between us. I'm never getting married, he said. I'm staying single forever. I'll be the cool uncle. Where are you gonna live? Somewhere out in the country by myself. Or maybe I'll just travel, you know, by himself. The thought of Eddie somewhere deep in woods or high in the mountains far from many other people confused me. Eddie, who would talk to anyone who would listen, wanted to be by himself forever. I knew it really was none of my business what Eddie did with his life, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. One night, I overheard my dad talking on the phone. He was a part of a committee at our church who planned youth activities. We really should plan something Eddie would like next week. His mom told me he's been feeling really lonely lately. I now realize the situation Eddie was in back then. At church, I almost always saw him talking to the adults and maybe one other guy his age. At school, he had a handful of friends, but mostly, he was ignored a lot, treated like a problem. Somebody no one wanted to join their group. His mom was divorced and his siblings were either much older or much younger than him. Who did he talk to? I never dived too much into Eddie's personal life, but I have a feeling now that he knew he was being shunned. He couldn't stop his voice and just needed someone to listen. He wanted to be with other people, but other people had pushed him away, told him that he needed to learn to shut up. Even I had done this at one point. If I hadn't been in those classes with him, I would have kept ignoring him, only making his problem worse. Eddie was a year older than me, so he graduated my junior year. Near the end of the year, seniors weren't required to come to school the last couple weeks and my classes were noticeably more quiet and dull without Eddie. Life happened and I didn't see too much of him at church either. He went to college across the country and his mother suddenly moved far away. Last I heard, he might have gone into the military. I didn't get his number, social media, email, nothing. I didn't think to. I really hate myself for never getting any form of contact with him. Eddie was honestly one of the nicest, coolest, and happiest guys I ever met. I sincerely enjoyed his company and I wished I had told him that. Told him to keep going, to keep ignoring people who put him down. Eddie was the kid who loved to laugh and joke in a world full of self-centered teenagers who would rather die than be caught dead with an embarrassing smile on their face. He showed me that you don't have to take yourself too seriously and that there was always something to be happy about. Could have been spiteful that no one wanted to listen to him, but he braved through it all. I miss him. I really miss him. I miss his silly questions, his doodles, his jokes, his videos, his schemes. I really missed out on a good friend. We were good acquaintances, but nothing more. If I had gotten his number or something I could have kept in contact with him. There were 100 different ways I could have gotten his number but I thought he would be around forever so I foolishly never did. This guy was prime best friend material. I even dare say I loved Eddie, maybe not in a let's get married love way but if he asked me to give him a kidney, I'd do it. I'd do it because gosh darn it he'd been nothing but kind to me and I know he'd find a way to make the process enjoyable. I like to think that we'd be racing around the hospital hallways in our wheelchairs. My motto in life is it's better to regret what you did than what you didn't. The fact that I missed out on being Eddie's friend rips me apart. Recently, I've been struggling with feelings of loneliness myself and I can't help but wonder if my life would be just a little brighter if I was able to text or call Eddie once in a while. Would somebody who knew loneliness so well let one of his friends suffer the same way? Wherever Eddie is, I hope he's happy. I hope someone out there is listening to his jokes and laughing with him. I hope they know that someone like him doesn't come around often and they cherish the friendship they have now. If you somehow made it all the way down here, thanks for reading. Go hug your friends and always be on the lookout for someone who needs a smile. And, in the teeny tiny itty bitty microscopic chance that you're reading this, Eddie, oh geez I hope I don't sound creepy. Please DM me. I miss you. I want to know if you ever made that motorcycle or what your next big scheme to change the world is. Too long didn't read. Guy I knew was really happy and nice, but was perceived by annoying to others so he was usually ignored. I wish I had been his friend. Edit. Wow, thank you both today I fucked up kind strangers for the wonderful reception, upvotes, and awards. I've read each and every one of your comments. You guys are awesome. Seriously. As someone pointed out in the comments, if I was willing to give a kidney to Eddie, then I'd be willing to go looking for him and dang I can't argue with that. So, I went looking for him on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Accounts that I think belong to him have been dormant for many years. After a little digging, I found his mom's number from an old exchange about babysitting Eddie's little brother. I wrote out a text explaining how I wanted to reach out to him, thought about it, hesitated for a good 3 hours, then sent it. Guys, I'm about to cry. She responded. Bless this wonderful woman. She told me that he's currently in Marine boot camp and that he's not allowed to use his phone until graduation but would love a letter from me. Yay. I'm gonna write him soon. Thank you guys for giving me the motivation and courage to look for him again. If anything more happens, I'll let you know. Thank you for this. My son talks non-stop. I mean, he's the kid that will tell you what is happening in a movie as you watch the movie together. He doesn't seem to have AD or ADHD. His doc was momentarily concerned at an appointment and did a quick assessment. I've said many of the things your classmates had said. Why do you talk so much? Can you be quiet for 1 minute? Dude, do you ever stop talking? Your post made me realize how detrimental this can be to him. He's not shunned like Eddie was, quite the opposite. He's incredibly popular, and while running errands I often get stopped by his classmates, their parents, and school staff to say hello to him for them. I'll try to do better. Thank you. I'll try to do better. Thank you. Understanding is the first move for a better. Hashtag find Eddie. Just copy paste this today. I fucked up and send it to his mom. Ask her to forward it to Eddie. You should definitely do a deep dive, maybe try to get in contact with his mom with whatever remaining traces of contact information there is. Please make a new post if you do find him. He's not active on any social media. I found skeptical I might have his mom's phone number. All I need if I do find it an excuse to get Eddie's number from her. Haha. Will update. So glad this story didn't end the way I thought it was going. I was waiting for it to, and when she said feeling lonely and seniors didn't have to come to school for the last 2 weeks, I thought for sure. I'm glad that it didn't though. If you're reading this, it's better to trust and regret, than to doubt and regret. Smile words I tried to stick by during my life. Today I fucked up by douching my blocked sinus too close to having sex. No, today, this happened a couple weeks ago. My first fuck up was not drinking enough water through the day. My nose got broken a couple years ago and my sinuses don't drain properly anymore. This is made worse when I don't drink enough water. So anyway, I get home from work and we go through the normal nightly routine. By the time I go for a shower my nose is feeling pretty blocked, so I decide to do a saline douche. I'll spare you details, but quite a bit of junk comes out, but it doesn't feel completely empty. My second fuck up. We get the kids into bed and decide to have some fun that ends up being the kind of sweaty sex you can smell from the next room. My wife's ankles are around her ears and I'm hammering away when the monstrous urge to sneeze stops the fun. Here I am balls deep making that stupid gotta sneeze face, trying my best to not ruin my wife oncoming face. My third fuck up. So this hurricane force sneeze does the job of clearing my sinus that the douche did not, and my long-suffering wife copped it all in the chest. Imagine green-colored, lumpy custard. We both stop and stare at each other. I feel mortified and my champ of a wife just looks me dead in the eye and says that's not what I wanted on my tits. We pretty much lost our shit after that. We laughed our way to the shower where she cleaned up and we finished up. TL/doctor didn't do a good enough of clearing a blocked nose, then ended up sneezing snot all over my wife's chest mid-coitus. Edit, y'all are amazing, thank you for the silvers. Edit 2, holy moly, my first gold, thank you very much. Mate, your wife is a champ and just the best. This made me laugh after a shitty day at work. Thank you for indulging me with your fuck up. Your wife also sounds like a keeper. Glad it could help. She definitely is the better half. Today I fucked up. I told my teacher I beat my meat in 5th grade. Obligatory. This was 6 years ago. Back in 5th grade in English class we had a rhyming task, where everyone had to write a few sentences that rhymed, so there was a box of words we could choose from and I chose eat. The first word that rhymed that came to my head was meat. I thought of another word that rhymed with the word meat. It was beat. I put them into a sentence and I wrote I like to beat my meat before I eat. After a while, the teacher started calling on students to read their sentence out loud. Yeah, it's pretty obvious where this is going. When it is my turn, I read my sentence out loud, thinking I wrote the best sentence in the class. I saw the shock on my teacher's face, taking it as a compliment, until she started laughing. I was confused. The teacher then called 2 other teachers to the classroom, then asked me to read my sentence out loud to them. Teachers looked at each other and instantly bursted into laughter. As a 5th grader I was confused why they were laughing. Thinking about it Today, I lose sleep. Too long didn't read. I told my teacher I like to beat my meat. She and two other teachers started laughing.